Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise in the House today for the second reading of a bill entitled An Act Respecting Community Funding. This reform is the process of changing what we have into what we need. We held consultations to understand the issues and challenges facing our local governance system. Mr. Speaker, the province currently has 340 local governance entities. As of January 1st, that number will be reduced to 77 local governments and 12 rural districts, for a total of 89 entities.
In the communities we live in, we identify with the places we call home that isn't going to change. Mr. Speaker, modernizing our local governance system means changes to boundaries and tax bases in some areas. We have met key deadlines, every deadline, since we've passed the legislation in December 2021, including transition teams and facilitators were in place in January of 2022. Election structure submissions were all finalized by March 31st, 2022. Our maps have been updated. We have now have the outer boundaries and ward maps on our website. Boundaries for all 89 entities are set in regulation. Our local governance reform team continues to work collaboratively with transition teams, facilitators, municipal governments, and LSD representatives. Government also proclaimed the first week in September as the first Municipalities Week in New Brunswick. I want to thank all of you who help your community, either by serving on local council, working for the village, town, or the city, or just keeping informed with the work that's being done at the municipal level. La réforme progresse.
The reform initiative progresses well, and we continue to keep the lines of communication open to resolve matters as they arise. We knew a reform of this magnitude would not be perfect. There is a lot of change happening, and we want to provide financial stability.
Mechanism will help ensure that communities that need support will receive adequate funding, while those that are financially stronger do not receive equalization funding. We are recommending today a 5-year funding mechanism starting in 2023 with an annual budget envelope of $75.6 million for the next 5 years. Equalization payments will be adjusted for the annual tax-based growth compared to the provincial tax-based growth to a maximum of 3%. The calculation of the tax base will be amended to reflect the ability of local governments to set two non-residential tax rates between 1.5, 1.4, and 1.7 times the residential rate. Madam Speaker, the 2022 average of the tax rate ratios will be used in calculating the tax base for communities. Any reduced need for equalization funding will be redirected along with the core funding revenue to help support the expanded mandates of the RC. Core funding previously provided to local governments will also be reallocated over a 5-year period to support those regional services. Nous remercions le groupe.
We thank the expert panel Desjardins-Kelly for its detailed and diligent work over the past few months. While we used some components of the expert panel's report, implementing a new equalization formula at this time is not ideal. The restructured entities are all going through a significant transition in the next 3 to 5 years. Madam Speaker, we listened to stakeholders such as the Cities of New Brunswick Association who didn't want the new formula and were seeking a transitional period. As a result, we're putting in place a 5-year funding mechanism to cover 2023 to 2027. We know how important stability is for the budgeting process for local governments and rural districts. And that is why we're ensuring stability and predictability as they transition from the status quo to their next exciting chapter of growth.
To ensure local governance system is strong, vibrant for generations to come. Since the beginning of this process in January 2021, it has been clear that we all want the same thing for our province, although at times our approaches may differ. We all want a better New Brunswick. I look forward to answering your questions with this legislation that goes to committee for third reading. Thank you, Madam Speaker.